George Clooney exposed hunting for young girls in Europe with Jeffrey Epstein and Bombshell DOJ files. Wow, another one, another Democrat who has Trump derangement syndrome, actually best friends with Jeffrey Epstein and love little girls. So we're gonna talk a little bit about it. We're gonna show some pictures that came to light. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this important information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. There you'll find a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from the People's Voice, and they report that Hollywood actor and Democrat Party insider George Clooney has been exposed as a Jeffrey Epstein accomplice who lured young girls with the convicted pedo during low-profile European vacations. Newly released Department of Justice files from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation have exposed the A-list actor's close personal ties to Epstein, despite Clooney's long-standing denials that he was friend of the child sex offender. Over 3 million pages of documents, videos, and images dropped by the DOJ on January 30th paint a disturbing picture of Clooney's repeated mentions in Epstein's emails, connections that mainstream media have long worked to suppress, of course, because they love George Clooney, but are now impossible to ignore. One particular eyebrow-raising exchange from 2014 places Epstein in Copenhagen, Denmark, where Clooney was reportedly staying. Jeffrey Epstein had been convicted of child sex trafficking charges in 2008. Epstein allegedly visited the Ocean's 11 star and later emailed about the city boasting, quote, interesting girls, a phrase that researchers are decoding as a thinly veiled nod to understand exploitation. I can't read today, y'all. Sorry. It was a thinly veiled nod to underage exploitation given Epstein's predilection. So that's their way of saying, hey, it's some young girls here. They call them, they say interesting girls. Oh man, I mean, disgusting work. Here, you can see it right here. You can see the emails for yourself. Right here. Now I know Copenhagen has interesting girls. Wow. And this is not hearsay. This is not, someone calling that tip line where people was making up stuff, overloading that tip line. This is them actually having conversations about this. But why Copenhagen? Clooney, the self-proclaimed humanitarian, was there on the down low, but Epstein's post-visit quip reeks of the pedophile's signature hunting grounds. Epstein's network thrived on luring elites with interesting temptations. But it gets deeper. Another email chain involves British politician Lord Peter Mandelson, who was just forced to resign, I talked about that already, from the Labour government in shame, joking to Epstein about wanting to muse same as George Clooney, with Epstein firing back, in your present position, it should be George Clooney. Wow. So he basically said, I want the same thing George Clooney been getting, them interesting girls. Wow. What's a muse? In Epstein speak, that's code for young, impressionable companions, often trafficked teens. Mandelson ties to Epstein already screams red flags, but dragging Clooney in, this is a peek into the elite's private playground where muses, little girls, are disposable assets in their power games. This is sickening. And how these elites got away with it for so long, I don't understand. Deepening the Clooney links, Virginia Joffrey alleged that convicted sex offender Ghislaine Maxwell bragged about performing oral sex on actor George Clooney in a bathroom at a social event. Wow. Let's connect the dots. Clooney's abrupt move out of the U.S. to France in recent years, not just for the wine and scenery. France is the most liberal country in Europe when it comes to famous child sex offenders. It's a classic elite invasion tactic, as well as the walls close in. What's that dude named? That Ronan dude, that producer, whatever, the director, whatever that dude was. He went out to France too to hide away once the claims came out about him. I remember he got a daggone standing ovation, even though he was a certified sex offender. Crazy. And so Hollywood condoned this stuff. And here's a picture, and this is real. This is not some of the fake images that's going on around the internet of Epstein. This is Reed Hoffman here, and you see George Clooney and a Mickey Mouse float. Really, these dudes are disgusting, man. These dudes are disgusting. And let's not forget the Obama angle. This is a real picture too. Viral posts allege Clooney's Epstein links extend to Epstein's infamous island, with blurry photos and whispers tying him to Barack Obama, and even a mysterious 9-year-old girl from Southeast Asia. I don't know if y'all can see this blurry pic here. That's Obama, that's Clooney, and look, it looks like a little Asian child right there. I don't know if y'all can see that right where Clooney's groin is. Disgusting, man. I can't believe I got to cover this. Somebody has to. Obama, Clooney's golf buddy, has dodged Epstein's scrutiny before, but these files suggest a web of mutual favors among the Democrat insider crowd. Why do the loudest virtue signalers always end up in the slime? Isn't that the case? George Clooney, with all his caping for woke politics and stuff like that, and this stuff comes out, it's always the loudest. That's absolutely true. Mainstream media, crickets, of course. They're not going to cover this. Not one mainstream media outlet talk about George Clooney and Epstein. No major outlets are touching this with the 10-foot pole, dismissing it as unverified or burying it under fluff pieces. Of course, they're protecting their own. Even though this, like I said, the tip line, which is is not proof of anything, because anyone can call that tip line that they opened up and make allegations. This is why we had these allegations in there about Trump. That was through the tip line, and even in the documents, the DOJ documents, they looked into it and said it's not true, it's unverified. And the leftists that try to post this stuff, they whited that part out. They got rid of that part that says this is disregarded information. Matter of fact, the person that made those claims, they actually wanted to give referred to, I should say, psychiatric care. These people were nuts that were saying these things. And the mainstream media refused to tell you this. It's disgusting, because I just seen, what's his name? Is it Congressman Lou or Senator Lou coming out calling Trump all types of stuff, which I hope Trump end up. He said, what did Lou say? Something about Trump liking children or something like that. And I hope he sues the crap out of him for that, because it's absolutely not true. By all accounts, you can tell that Epstein had a deep, deep disdain for Trump. And he went out his way to try to get Trump out the paint. And we all see that. But I digress. Clooney's been a darling of the liberal elite, fundraising for Democrats and lecturing us peasants on morality. But these docs scream hypocrisy. Of course, that's par for the course for Democrats. They're all hypocrites. Another Hollywood hypocrite potentially entangled in the global pedo ring that's ensnared princes, presidents, and moguls. Wow. So y'all let me know what y'all think about all this information. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.